Welcome to The Mix, a fusion dance podcast where we dive into the world of blending dances and all that comes with it. We're talking about everything from the highs of nailing that perfect combo to the lows, emotional, and mental challenges and more. And if you're new to the dance scene, don't worry, we've got you covered with practical tips to help get you started, feel comfortable, and most importantly, have fun. So come on in. We can't wait to dance with you. Hey.
Hey, what's up?
You have this like mustache look going on. You look like you look like you're working security, or you could,
Yeah.
or you're a dad right now. I don't know. You have this
Yeah,
like sort of dad looking.
it's like dad slash like cop vibes, like law. It's a little law and order, you know what I'm saying? It's a little, because we got to make sure the streets are safe.
So as much as I am used to making fun of you, I do actually want to talk about something a bit more serious today, or want to bring something up. I actually got some feedback from a dancer.
Ooh.
And yeah, and
Mhm.
it made me really sad because, well, long story short is,
Mm.
you know how we talk about in the past episodes of wanting to give people a positive dance experience on the social dance floor.
Uh-huh.
And usually we talk about it in terms of clicks and making people feel welcome, making sure that like we tend to talk about that realm, right?
Hmm.
But the feedback I received was the fact that, it was like words that I said in passing that I thought were so casual, had no meaning to it at all. And apparently it gave, them, it really hurt them. And
Yeah.
so what it was, and I've said this to you and a few other people that I dance with, is when a song comes on, I'll usually, and you ask me, like, do you want to dance to this? Or maybe I'll look at you and be like, no, this isn't a song I want to dance with you, or
Like, oh,
this.
this isn't a Kalan song. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Or this is not a Matthew song, Mark song,
Yeah.
Luke song, or John song, and then I'll like walk off. Why are you laughing?
Because it
Anyways,
was all the Bible. It was like Matthew, Mark,
yeah,
Luke, John
you got
in
the
order.
hint. You
That's
got
how I was like, what the? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
the other
don't,
reference.
I
Yeah,
get it
yeah,
because I usually it's like Latin songs or something like that, which is like I'm like, oh yeah, that's fine. But I'm like, okay. I just my thing is I'm like, oh, if you don't want to dance with me, it's fine. Like I'm not gonna
yeah.
take it
Oh,
personal. But
yeah,
I also know you, so I feel like
yeah,
I'm like, oh, that's just Trang. She's trying to optimize stuff.
yeah. Yeah. I guess it's like if I hear something where it's like, oh, this is a very Zouk song, I'm gonna run to this person because I know they're very into it.
Mm,
I'm gonna do a Zouki thing
like
with.
that's their specialty kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or sometimes there's songs where I'm like, oh, I don't know if I really want to dance to this, and then I'll like sit it out, or I'll start recording.
Yeah.
But so to me, I thought it's just like in passing. This is just a comment I make.
Mm.
And to them, it gave them a negative dance experience because
Mm.
they thought it was maybe like, am I not good enough for you to be able to dance this song?
Oh,
So
yeah,
it's kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
like, I can see how it's like a very like rejection, kind of like, no, I don't want to dance with you type of
Hmm.
feeling. And so I know the thing is, I'm not going to get into really like the technicality. I think this is where people might get into debates being like, well, you didn't say that, or, about
Hmm.
like the technicality of like the wording and stuff, right? Or like, this is not what you meant, or this is what you meant, yada, yada, yada. But when I want to get down to is the fact that I gave someone a negative experience on the
Yeah.
social dance floor. And that's what the root problem is. And
Hmm.
so when I got that feedback, honestly, I felt really gutted because it's kind of like, I don't know if hypocritical is the right word, but it's like here we are being like, oh, we want to make sure everyone, like we don't want to be the bad guys, like those clicky people. And then imagine
Yeah.
you getting that feedback, being like, actually, you did this, that gave me a negative experience. And then so I
Yeah.
remember thinking like, oh my goodness, I thought to myself all this time, I'm never gonna be one of those bad guys, and here I
Hmm.
am without realizing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, I think it's, what you say and what you do. You can think one way, but you don't realize like how it can be interpreted in such a different way. But anyways, I felt really gutted. I'm so glad that they told me so I know not to be aware of it, not to
Yeah.
maybe do it
Yeah.
again. And also it made me be like, Chang, stop being so damn picky. Just stop laughing. I'm trying to say something serious, but it's like
No, it's
it's really like because for fusion and stuff like that, especially you're dancing to enjoy and to connect with people, right? Instead of maybe like I was so focused on um the song. Because the thing is, like, with social dance, you don't know what song they're gonna play. And it's more of like maybe being more open to even if it's not your forte, you know, the point of these social dances is that you are going to be given a song and see what you can work with it. So anyway, so I feel like there were a couple learning lessons for me with that feedback. Um, and and to put it out there, Kayla and I are open to feedback. That is one thing. Like it's better. We'd rather
No, no,
know.
I'm not. Don't tell me nothing about myself. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, yeah, I'm open to feedback. I'm for sure open to feedback.
Yeah, it's like it's better to know
Yeah.
than not know, you know, and because you're just like, how long have people been feeling this way, thinking this
Yeah.
way without it's better to get kind of like clarity maybe and just try to be on
Mhm.
the same page. But yeah, I definitely felt really uh gutted about it because
Mhm.
you don't want to be a person that gives someone a negative dance experience.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
yeah. I did talk about, I did explain on what I meant when I say,
Mhm.
oh, this isn't a Kaylin song, Matthew song, Mark song. Uh, and this is what I mean when I say that. It's more so
Yeah.
of, how do I describe it? Flavor preference or like,
Yeah.
um, and it has nothing to do with someone's like, if you're a good dancer or not.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh, this song sounds like it would fit in an Italian restaurant. I'm gonna go to the Italian chef right
Mhm.
now because
Yeah.
I want that, you know, like, but it doesn't mean that you're not a good chef,
Mhm.
you
You're
know.
like, oh, I'm feeling some gnocchi tonight. Like, which it's like, oh yeah, it's totally fine. Like maybe another night you're like, oh, I want to lean more so towards
Or even not a night, but that song.
oh yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Um
So, but yeah, it has like nothing to do with a person's skill level, really
yeah,
being like, oh, you know, and so, but it made me be a lot more cautious and aware of like how this could come off,
yeah.
especially if it's someone that's new to the dance scene.
Yeah, that's very true. Very,
Yeah.
very, very true.
Hmm.
Yeah, because like I think everyone is allowed to like you're allowed to have your preferences, you know. If you said that you had a favorite dancer or someone else said they had a favorite dancer or whatever, you know, we wouldn't take offense to it. Like, I'm not your favorite dancer, you know what I mean? Like I'm not everybody's favorite, you know. But I think I think that's where it's really important to talk about how you're feeling because you don't know how someone else is interpreting, you know what I'm saying? So like even on that you know that in that conversation about like you know about how you know you have your preferences, you're like, oh, for this song I like to dance with this person and that person. I think as long as you make it clear that it's not a reflection of the person's skill, but this is just what your preference is. It's not I'm trying to be mindful of like how I say it, right? But it's like oh, like people are allowed to they're allowed to have preferences. Like people are allowed to say, "Oh, I like this over this or I want this in this moment." Like, you know, there's a taco truck down the street, but that's not what I'm in the mood for. It smells great. Any other day of the week, I might be like, "Yes, absolutely." But right now, maybe I want some I don't know, I want some lumpa or like I want some I don't know, I want some dumplings or something. I don't know. I'm trying to think of food off the top of the head. I want pizza. I want a slice of pizza, right? Like it's like yeah, people are allowed to want the things that they want, but um I think the issue is when it starts to become like I only go to these places or I only go to, you know what I mean? Like where it's like you're starting to cut people out or entire groups out. You're like, I won't dance with a Westie, or I won't dance with this person because they're not a part of my like, you know, my clique, or I don't like dancing with salsa people because they're all like this. Like that's where I think that's where it starts to kind of be a problem, you know. And yeah, and that's why I think it's like it's super important to like assume the best because you don't know where a person's coming from. You don't know like what a person is thinking, feeling, experiencing, and assuming the best kind of puts you in a place where you're like, okay, before I go off in the deep end, before I go off and start getting hype, like I'll actually, because this is a real life example, something that happened to me is it was an event. I'll just say it was a couple years ago, and I remember a person asked me to dance, and we had it was so bad, like it was such a bad dance. And when I say it was bad, I mean it was like dangerous, not just like oh we were missing each other. It was like you're hurting people around us, and it's like it's affecting me and you're also potentially hurting. Like, are we fighting? Like, what's happening here? Right? It was such a bad dance. And I remember walking away with it. Like, I was actually upset. Like, I had to like go outside and walk around because I'm thinking through. I'm just like, what was I doing wrong? And then as I'm thinking, I'm like, no, I was giving clear signals. I did everything I needed to. Just what was happening? And we And so for like a week, I think it was like a week and some change, I was just fuming because I wanted to talk to the person, but I couldn't find them afterwards. And also, I'm glad I didn't because it gave me time to kind of like cool down and to like process it. And so we talked about it later, and I like they asked me to dance again, and when we talked, I was like, these are all the things that I was feeling. This is why I felt the way that I did. But I also don't know what you were experiencing, and and I want to know. And they were super apologetic, and they explained why. And when they did, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that actually made a lot of sense. I won't go into detail because I feel like I don't want to like air anybody out. But once they explained it, once we had that conversation, I was like, oh, okay. And then at the end of it, we probably talked for another 10 minutes or so. But it was like that entire week I was fuming because I was so mad about it. And we had this little conversation in like 2 minutes. I was like just completely, I was like, oh wow, if you would have said that before, I'd have been like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It just made perfect sense why we were missing each other. And then we go on a dance later that night, actually like immediately after this conversation. I kid you not, it was the exact opposite of that. Like it was one of the best dances that I had had in that time frame. Legit, it was so good, but it was so good because we actually talked about it instead of me feeling some kind of way and then like just stuffing it and not saying anything and not talking to them. But then they were also willing to have that conversation with me, so it goes both ways, right? It goes both ways. And even in that, I was like, I don't know where they're coming from, so I need to like hold off before I just jump to a conclusion or whatever. Um, and yeah, I mean, we ended up like it was like great. Anytime I saw them, I'm like, yes, please, let's dance, absolutely. And it just boom, absolutely amazing, you know. So, so don't be afraid of conflict, y'all. Don't be afraid to tell people uncomfortable things because sometimes really good things can happen.
Yeah, I wonder how many times in life we have missed high fives with people, or like one
Mm,
situation will happen and you'll have two characters interpreting it different ways. So I actually had this incident yesterday with my housemate where she was on the phone and I was leaving the house. I didn't realize she was on the phone, so I said like, "Hello," and she apparently waved to me, and I didn't see it because I was looking down on the ground and, so I don't trip and as I leave the house. And later on, she texted me saying like, "Oh, I hope, like, that was me saying hi to you and I was waving to you. I wasn't trying to shoo you away because I realized my hand motion was very, like,
yeah,
shooing." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't even see you wave to me because I was looking on the
yeah,
ground." So it was just so funny how like she's like, "Oh my gosh," she thought like I was telling her to like leave me alone. I'm on the phone. And all this time I'm like, I'm just trying not to trip.
yeah.
So, so again, it's like these missed high fives that I feel like we like that people can have with each other.
Mhm.
And if you, yeah, I guess having that a quick chat, maybe like you said, even with that person you were dancing with, can help immensely to clear the air, really.
Mhm.
But isn't, yeah, kind of, I guess, clear the air before it gets deeper.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because like I think there are definitely instances where it's like like it's just a misread. Like you may say something and they hear it differently, but you might be talking to somebody else, or like like with your roommate situation, right? They might be saying one thing and you didn't even see that, but then they interpret your response as like and it's just like you're like, oh no, right? Like all this stuff can happen, and you're not on the same page at all. Like you're reading totally different books, right? Um, and that's like in like I think like the flip to it is it's not just about kind of like having sort of like assuming the best of others, but I think there's also some like self-awareness, right, where you are also looking inward, where you're kind of checking in with yourself about some things, like I think for for with most dances, I think there's like an aesthetic sort of quality to it. Most people want to look good, most people they want to be like when you look back on video. I know for me it's really hard to look at video sometimes. I'm getting past it, right? But like it's really hard to look at video sometimes because you're like in the moment it might feel amazing, but then you look at like, why is my elbow like this? Or why does my shoulder keep doing this thing? Or why does my head look crazy? Or my face looks like wild, right? Um, but the thing about fusion, I'm just thinking of like photos. Like there's one in particular where my mouth is just like completely open. I'm just like I have gum in my mouth. Oh, it's so bad. But yeah, that one. Who knows? We might post that one for like that might be the headshot for this episode, right? But no, but I think the thing is that fusion is a dance where it's more about the connection than it is about the aesthetic. Like with other dance styles, there's especially like when there's like a competitive component to it, like you're doing Jack and Jills or you're doing showcases or whatever it is, right? Like the aesthetics matter. The aesthetics really matter. The presentation matters. It's like watching Iron Chef or whatever, you need to like the stuff that looks good has to look good for TV. You have to be able to see it and you're like, wow, yeah, wow, that looks so good. It might not be that good, right? It might be kind of just okay, but it looks amazing. Whereas with fusion, people are eating. It's not about the aesthetic, it's not about the visual. It might look crazy and that's okay. How does it taste? You know? How does it taste? That's the question, right? Like is your dancing tasty? You know what I mean? And I think when you when you ask that question, like is your dancing tasty, then you also have to ask like what you're looking to get out of it, what you're doing in it, like who are you as a person in this dance and in this space. And I'll say for me, when I was really, because I think I'm at a better point now, right? But like when I was really, I'll just say like 4 5 6, probably like year six, let's say year six or year seven, I realized that I had like a really, really negative sort of like visual of myself, where I was really, really just like down on myself, where if I got a compliment or something, or someone was like, oh wow, like, oh, you're pretty good or whatever, I would do everything I could to just be like, nope, nope, that was a fluke, you know? And if you would have told me, if you'd been like, hey, actually, as a matter of fact, there was a person who he gave me feedback in a class, mind you. And I was so mad that he gave me feedback because I was like, I don't even need to be in this class, right? But like he gave me, and he was totally right. He was 100% correct. He gave me this feedback point, and it was something simple, right? And it was about my frame. But I got so offended because I was like, of all the people here, you're gonna pick me, you're gonna point me out, and I got mad. But I realized later that like I got upset, one, because he was right, and two, because I had such a negative view of myself that any other outside like words felt like an attack, even though it wasn't, And it felt like an attack because it's almost like that area was already sensitive, it was already inflamed. It's like if you have like an injury or something, right? And if you have an injury, yeah, like your knee is like swollen or whatever, and someone touches it, it hurts, right? It hurts, which it's a normal touch, right? It's a normal touch, but it hurts because that area is already inflamed. And for me, I was already inflamed. I was already so negative on myself that if I heard anything that sounded like criticism, I was ready. I was like, don't talk to me. I don't want to hear that, you know? And yeah, that was I feel like I'm going off a little bit. I want to like rant, but yeah, that was a whole thing. That was a whole thing.
I think we all can relate to having feeling like we're not good enough as
Mhm.
dancers.
Yeah,
And it's funny because there's sometimes like the best dancers are, or the good dancers,
mhm.
they're the ones I'm like, you're so good. And they're like, no, I'm not. And I'm like,
Yeah,
what else can I say to get this in your head? Being like, you are
yeah,
good, you
mhm.
know? I don't know if you like what since then has helped you
Yeah. Oh
get.
my goodness. Oh, I love this topic so much. Yeah.
I
Look,
think
so
that's also
like,
important because people don't realize how much of there's a mental journey
mhm,
we're going into this as in a sense artists,
mhm.
as dancers. It's not one of those things where like to non-dancers, I think they just say like you just go to class and you just learn things, but there's
Yeah,
a whole wave of this, I think like our self-esteem being shot and then
yeah,
feeling shot and then being like,
mhm,
oh, I think, oh, I got something. Oh, okay, there's hope. I think I'm getting better, and then you're
yeah,
like a journey of being like, oh nope, I feel like I suck again. So
mhm.
how like what Coach K, what
Yeah,
yeah,
Coach K. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's what's it called? I think it's the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? It's like the less you know, the more
yes.
confident you are about it. I've noticed that. It's really interesting. Like there's some people who are like they're like in their second or third year and they're teaching, and respectfully, it's like you ain't there, buddy. And then you have people who are like phenomenal, just like they've been in it for most of their life and they are just so good, but they can point out all their flaws and they'll tell you everything that they do wrong. And it's really interesting. I feel like we don't always have like a clear gauge on where we are. But I think it's because a lot of the time we compare ourselves to others. And I know that's what I was doing. I'll just speak from my own experience. It's like that's what I was doing. I was looking at other people, I was looking at other dancers and I was thinking, man, I'm not as good as them. Like my turns aren't as sharp as theirs. My technique isn't as on point, or their creativity, their musicality is like, and all I have is X, Y, and Z. And it's like that X, Y, and Z are the things that people love about dancing with me. But I look at those things like, oh, that's just whatever, you know. What really changed, there were kind of two things that really changed. And say the first one is that I realized how much I was looking at other people instead of actually looking at myself. Like I was actually kind of just obsessed with how good other people were, and I wasn't focusing on what I could learn or what I could incorporate. Or I'm like, oh, like this person did this thing that was really cool. Great. That's cool. Can I incorporate that? Is that me? Is that part of my, my brand, right? Is that part of my flavor profile as a dancer? Is that part of my artistry? Oh, it is? Cool. I can ask them, or I can like, go to classes or whatever it is, right? But like if I'm not going to learn it, I don't need to obsess over if I can do it or not. You know what I mean? It's like giving myself the freedom to say, I don't need to know everything or do everything. I just need to do the things that are in line with who I am as a person or as a dancer and what I want to bring to the table. And just really quick with the first one, actually, I'll also say that like a lot of the time we'll compare ourselves like as a beginner to like someone in their final stages, right? Like we might be at the Squirtle level, like we just started, we just got into whatever, and we're looking at the Blastoise thinking, oh, I'm so inadequate, right? Like you're not there yet, you're gonna get there. Just like stick it out. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason that that person got to that level, got to that stage. And even then, they might have all these things that they're thinking that they're like, oh, I don't do this well, or I don't have this, or whatever. It's like everyone is on their own journey. So rather than being obsessed with where someone else is, like you're not, you're gonna get there, right? But if you're not there, like take your time, give yourself some patience, give yourself a little like, give yourself some grace. That's I think that's number one. But the second one is like who you're doing what you're doing for. You know what I'm saying? That's a kind of a long-winded way to say that like if your focus and your aim is external, right? Like if your goal is to get people to praise you or to hype you up, if that's what you're doing it for, all right, go ahead. But you're now putting yourself at the mercy of other people's compliments, of other people's praise and other people's applause. And actually, it's just like there's a Christian rapper who said this like years ago, and in an interview or in a book, I don't remember, but he was like, if you live for people's praise, you'll die from their criticism, right? I think it was
Ooh,
Lecrae who said that.
say that again.
Yeah, he's like, if you live for people's praise, you'll die from their criticism. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like, if you make your life based on other people giving you applause and giving you, it's like if that's your goal and that's your aim, then if they don't give you that, you're starving. You know what I mean? You're not getting the thing that you need. And like for me, I kind of realized that like I was just so stuck on, and it's weird because I was like so stuck on like if I get any negative reviews, anyone says anything negative, then I'm so bad, right? Like I'm just so off. And like the shift, like the shift started when I started looking at my dancing and saying like, what do I actually want from this? Like, what do I actually want to do with this? I want to be able to connect with anyone. I want to be able to, no matter what style or background or experience they have, I want to be able to connect with anyone, and I want to be able to figure out any kind of music. I want to be able to do those two things really well. And if I can do those two things, I'm not worrying about anything else, and because and this is just what worked for me, right? Like I made those two things my goal, and then from there kind of like whether it was in classes or just stuff that I would like watch, or like in terms of like videos or whatever, I just started making those two things my goals, right? Like what can I hear in the music that's common, and then what's different, right? Like what are the things that other people are probably going to hear, right? Like the bass or the melody, and then what's that weird instrument that's happening over there, and then how can I like stylize that, right? And so when I kind of started doing that, it didn't like if someone liked the dance, I was like, okay, I'm on the right path, right? If someone was like, oh, I didn't enjoy it, or whatever, I was like, oh, okay, cool, like it's good feedback, but it doesn't break me, right? I'm just like, oh, okay, they didn't like it, why not? What was it? Oh, because the timing was weird. Okay, cool, that's just good feedback for me. And so like I realized at some point I was like, oh, I'm not getting hurt anymore. Like I'm not like if someone's like, oh, I'm not I'm not the person they want to dance with this song to. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, there's 100 reasons why that is. Like, maybe it's just you don't like that song, or maybe you just don't want to dance with me. That's fine. Like, that's totally okay. And I like that was where it really started to switch, because then for me, I started getting excited when I would have those dances where we're listening to the same thing in the music, and we're trying to figure each other out, because now my goal is it's not this internal emptiness. you know what I'm saying, that I'm trying to appease. It's like I'm trying to reach towards a goal, if that makes sense. It's like I'm not running from something, I'm running to something. And you're also running to that thing too. So now we're both running to the same thing. And now we're both excited because we're like, yo, you're running it. Yeah, you too? Yeah. Oh, we're going. And then you just kind of like you just build from there. So when you get to the end, it's like, yeah, we did it. Yeah. It just yeah, I feel like it just changed. It changed everything for me. I know that was a lot of words. Oh my gosh. But yeah,
No,
that's
I think those a lot of words from Coach K. I think that's probably that was so helpful for me, and I know it's gonna be helpful for other people going in because it's kind of like a never-ending journey. It's kind of I feel like once you start
facts.
dancing, you're like, oh no, I got sucked into this like long thing that's part of my life, and
Yeah.
I don't know, say for some people it is their identity, maybe. Um, I think you made such great points, especially when, and it's hard. It's not just only dance, but in life of stop comparing yourself to others.
Yes.
I think there's a fine line balance of being inspired by them and you want
Hmm.
to kind of be like them, but then that can become an obsession. And I think I've gone through that phase too.
Hmm.
And if you keep obsessing with what were you doing wrong versus what you're doing better, you kind of just see life through that lens and through that filter. It's kind of like if you want to master something, some people, like a chef, they sometimes get so obsessed with it that that's all they think about and they kind of miss living. They miss what else is
Yep.
out there in the world, right? But if they want to become better, I get it when you want to become better at your craft. So I think there's a fine line of like, I want to learn as a student and be maybe humble or maybe being curious, coming really curious about it, um, versus someone that just kind of loses themselves in it, I guess.
Yeah, no, and I guess another thing that I would add to is like how would you talk to your friends, Like how would you talk to your people, right? Like would you
You suck,
criticize your
Kaylin.
friends? Yeah. Okay, maybe not you, right? But how would other people no, let me say. No, but it's like you gotta I think you have to talk to yourself the same way that you would talk to other people, where I mean we wouldn't think to tell our friends how bad they are, right? Like if anything, we might have a hard time telling our friends hey, this is something that you could work on, right? Like we'd have a hard time with it, but we don't have a hard time criticizing ourselves sometimes. Like we'll look at ourselves and we'll call ourselves all kind of things. Like I've heard my own self-talk, and sometimes when I hear it out loud, I'm just like, yo, what? Like if anybody talked to me like this, I'd have a problem. You know what I'm saying? And like I'd imagine most of us would have a problem with that as well. So like why do we give ourselves the worst and but we give others the absolute best? I'm not saying you shouldn't give others your best. I'm saying that we should also extend that kind of kindness to ourselves as well, where like you can have honest self-talk where you're like, hey, I did not do this as well as I could have improved on this, whatever. You can do that, right? But like, why are you calling yourself all this extra stuff? Like, why are you calling your style bad or calling yourself that, you know what I mean? It's like, nah, don't do that. Like, don't do that. Don't do that, you know? And if you hear other people talk about themselves in a negative way, gently correct them. Like, no, you're not this. You might have done this. Like like maybe you can improve on this and this is how you can improve on it. But like, don't call yourself this. Don't put that on yourself. Don't internalize that. You know what I'm saying? Like you're always on. Your mind is always on. If you're putting negative stuff on yourself, you're just going to continue to hold on to that negative stuff. Don't do that. Don't do that. Like Trang, I mean, you're okay. You're all right, but no, it's kidding. No, it's kidding. They're gonna watch this podcast. They'll be like,
I was I was
this
waiting for a
guy's the
heartfelt
worst.
message and then it just went the other way. But I should have expected less than that. I was about to be like, thanks, Coach K. Okay.
Yeah, no. But real talk though. I think like we
Yeah,
do
we are
have
so
to.
hard on ourselves. Like
Yeah.
I remember someone saying, like when they hear, yeah, and this doesn't have to be dance, when you talk to friends, they're just like, yeah, I'm not really a great person, or like, oh, I did this, or I don't know, whatever it is, whatever
Hmm.
silly things they say. And they would say, like, excuse me, I don't like that you're talking about my friend that way. I was like,
That's good. That's good.
oh,
That's good. Yeah. No,
right.
that's real good. That's real good.
Yeah. I think when I kind of took a break from dancing, at least here, I guess. And I was, traveling South America for the past couple months. And so you have a lot of time to reflect because you're not, I wasn't dancing all the time. And I kind of thought to myself about how a dance or any hobby or where you're trying to get better at it can become an addiction if you don't keep it in check, if it's not. if you don't keep in check, it's going to become an unbalanced thing in your life.
Yeah.
And, and I wonder with, I had to be like, Trang, you're not even competing, so why are you starting to compare yourselves with competitors where they're really mastering at a really much faster level, but also they're investing a lot more money in privates and classes. So I feel like for me, having a break from dance, it wasn't intentional. It was just more like I was keeping myself occupied with sightseeing and so many other things. It kind of made me take a step back and be like, oh, you don't have to be so obsessed with
Yeah.
it.
That's good.
But
That's good.
I also thought to myself, I feel like sometimes we might see things in a certain light, like, oh, we're not creative enough, or like we're not good enough, but we don't think about, again, what you were saying earlier, like, okay, well, you can improve on this, right? So how do I explain this? But I think sometimes dancing people can maybe some internalize it as a part of who they are, especially their creativity or like how they express
Mm,
themselves. And so they kind of maybe get down and really speak really unkind things to themselves in that aspect when really we maybe approach it more from a hey, let's focus on how to improve your technique and your connection, because those two things, if you improve those, and that takes time with like classes and privates and stuff, that's going to make your dance so much better, instead of being like, oh, your creativity and who you are as a dancer
mhm.
isn't good enough. It's like, no,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I got here because someone taught me how to do this in a correct way with
Mm,
body mechanics. That's all it
yeah.
was. That's it. And also the connection, the connection, something that you always work on throughout your life, I feel like, because you dance with different people and they have different connections based on what their dance background is.
Yeah.
So I have a dance friend that I kind of bum off of. So he takes private lessons. And so he'll give me tips that he learned. And I'm like, thank you. But also I'm his like dance dummy where he's just like, hey, I need someone to practice what I just learned with from my teacher. And I'm like, I'm more than happy to.
Hold on. Excuse me. Don't talk about my friend like that. Okay.
Oh,
She's not a dummy. Okay. She's smart. She's intelligent.
no,
She
sorry.
knows a lot.
I don't think, oh,
No,
here's a perfect
I'm
example.
just
I
kidding.
think
I'm
you're
just kidding. I'm
interpreting the
just
word dummy.
kidding.
We have a missed high five moment right here. Like, you need like a body, a dance dummy, like a mannequin, those
Yeah,
like
yeah,
car
yeah.
crash dummies, that knows how to move though. Okay. So like a dance dummy. Someone actually said, oh yeah, I'm they might dance dummy for like my privates. Cause you need like,
Mhm.
it helps when there's a
Yeah,
private.
you're like a second. I
Yeah.
got you. I'm just
Yeah. And
messing.
I was like, oh, I like that word, dance dummy. But I see, we just see everyone, there's a missed high five. No, but I think you were just making fun of me for real.
Yeah, I was for
Anyway.
sure. For sure.
Yeah, and so learning, he gave me just a few tiny tips on connection and like,
Mhm.
like your hand's supposed to move here. Like it was literally like a 1 centimeter difference, but it made the dance feel so much better. And from me bumming off his privates, wait.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
Oh God.
Now you know. Listen,
Um,
this next episode is going to be about consent and safety.
yeah, okay. Okay. Whew. Okay. Pretty much. I just learned more from the
That.
connection. And
Oh, I bet. Oh, I bet.
okay. I can see
Mm.
people being like, okay, let's just
Oh.
fast forward because all we hear is silence and giggling.
All right, we're good.
Uh,
We're good. I'm a professional. I'm okay. We're fine. We're fine here.
okay.
Ooh.
So afterwards, when I went to dance socials, long story short, I
Mhm.
realized that I danced so much better because my connection with people was just better. I just
Yeah.
knew how to have a better connection, but it
Mhm.
was just a tiny thing that made a huge difference.
Mhm.
Um, so if you are feeling like you're not up to par to whatever standard you're putting on yourself, really. Like I kind of switched my mind mentally, be like, I just need to learn more, or on really just focusing on improving my technique and connection. So it seems
Yeah.
a bit more like a systematic way of looking at dance for me,
Mhm.
instead of like an emotional way of looking at dance and my value and my worth.
Yeah. Like it's not a reflection of you as a person. Sometimes it's like a
It's more reflection
reflection.
of like, oh, I don't have this knowledge yet,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I will get there once I get
Mhm.
more knowledge.
Yeah. Like you as a person is not the problem. It's like, oh, I just haven't spent as much time
In the kitchen.
in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Exactly
The
that.
chef.
Like exactly
It
that.
really
Yeah.
is that. I remember um yeah, someone telling me, being like, he's an expert dancer, he teaches and stuff, but he's just like, I don't see it as I'm better than you and the students. It's more of like, I have more knowledge than you guys. I see you as my peers, but I just happen to have more knowledge than you guys. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's another way of looking at it. Because sometimes
Hmm.
people look at teachers and people who compete like, oh my gosh, they're like amazing, and it's like they're who I aspire to, and like, like,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
it's really, they just had a lot, they probably just put more money into their training.
Ooh, you know what? You know what I would say about connection?
Hmm.
I would say connection is 1,000 tiny tweaks,
Ooh.
because it's everyone wants a different kind of connection. Everyone wants a different type of texture or feel or pressure. Some people prefer their hand to be higher or some lower, or some need more pressure, some want less, some are, like it's different for everyone, right? Everyone has a preference. And like there are, especially when you're talking about like, competition and things like that, there are quote unquote better connections in terms of what they look like, right? Like there are some that look better, right? But that doesn't say anything about the feel of it. Doesn't say anything about like what a person is actually experiencing. And so there needs to be an openness, and there needs to be a little bit of a communication to find that sweet spot. And I think that's a reason why some people you prefer to dance with more than others. Like some you just naturally have the same sort of connection or the same sort of pressure. And then there's others where like you have to be more intentional to make that adjustment, you know?
Yeah.
Which is not to say that they're like a bad dancer or they're not a good person or anything. It's just, oh, it's a different kind of preference. Some people like some are like, oh, I want level 4 spicy, right? Others are like, I'm at a 2. And 2 is pushing it for me. 2 is a lot for me, you know?
I think in fusion it's also tricky because everyone's dancing different styles.
Yeah.
So, for example, I did West Coast Swing as one of my first partner dances, and that one definitely has a more push pull, rubber band, stretchy
Hmm,
connection.
hmm, hmm.
And when you dance with someone that's dancing salsa, bachata, the connection is
Hmm,
so much lighter, aka
hmm.
you. No, so I remember when I danced with you, I was like, it's really hard for me to feel because I'm not used to this. And then as I actually danced more Latin, I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
the connection. I was like, why is he so, this is really, but once I was able to get used to that type of feeling more by dancing with
Yeah.
other people in that realm, I was like, this is their dance background that they're
Yeah.
used to. And so with fusion, I think it's harder and trickier to kind of calibrate it because you're like each person based on,
Yeah.
and you don't even know unless you're like friends with them probably or ask them,
Mhm.
you don't know what their dance background is because there's all these things we have to try to calibrate.
Yeah.
How do it's like, when is a good time to give feedback to dancers or to receive feedback, right? And give tips.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
times
Yeah.
where I'll like, for me, I know that you're like, you don't do it on the social dance floor, but for me, after a dance, especially if someone's trying to lead me into something and I didn't get it twice, I can tell I didn't get it. I'll be like,
Yeah.
you're doing it. I will be like, hey, can you show me that move you did? And just
Yeah.
like, what am I supposed to do? You
That
know?
is like the hardest question. I like for me, because of the way that I dance, I'm not thinking about what I'm doing. I'm focusing on the feel. So when someone asks me like, how'd you do that thing? I'm like, you gotta run the play by play back because I don't even know what you're talking about. They're like, you try to do it like 3 times. I'm like, what? Like, I don't even
So long
know.
story short, don't ask Caleb.
Yeah,
Okay.
don't, yeah, because I'm not gonna remember unless you have a video. In which case, I'm like, oh, that thing, yeah, 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 that's just that, yeah,
Yeah. And but a lot of times I learn so much from people on the dance floor,
yeah,
especially, or like I'll ask afterwards because I just want to know and be like, okay, so how was my connection for that? And they'll be like, oh, it was a bit inconsistent. Like you follow well, but your connection's inconsistent. And then over time, I figured out it was because I had too much noise in my shoulders and I would move my shoulders too much.
mm,
Someone pointed that out, and but that little tip made such a huge difference. So now now I know to work on again technique,
yeah,
on keeping my shoulders as more level
yeah,
as possible instead of moving around because it's just a bad habit that I'm trying
yeah,
to break, really,
mhm,
And I think one of the things that helped me so much in dancing was hands-on feedback, right? So real-time feedback. And
Mhm.
I remember, so in group classes, it's different because for dance classes, there are different business models, I'd say. I'll call it business models, right? So it's affordable when you take a big group class, just because there's more people, and obviously
Yep.
the instructor can make money off of that as well. But I felt like, in like private classes are amazing because the teacher can look at you and be like, okay, this is your blind spot. This is this is what we need to work on your shoulder.
Yes.
You're somehow, without realizing it, you're moving your right shoulder to propel you, and we don't want that. And I remember, because that's what someone gave me feedback on my turns, and I was like, oh wow, like it's nice. Okay, now let's drill it. Let's do it over and over again. So, but not everyone can afford privates, right? So I think the thing that really helped me was a good compromise was having a small intimate class where it's like 6 to 8 people. The instructor still had time to go up and be like, okay, hold my hand, Trang, and I need you to do a sugar push with me. And I
Mhm.
remember thinking, like, why am I doing a basic move with you? You know? And then they were just like, I need more compression from you. And I was like, oh. And so I remember thinking, for the past 6 months, I've been dancing like this, and no one on the social dance floor has been telling me, oh,
Yeah.
that my
Yeah.
connection is off. And so, but that hands-on connection with the instructor can be like, this is what I need you to tweak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not like you're doing it wrong, just more like, this is what you need to tweak, and let's do it over
Mhm.
and over again, right? But I think in an intimate class, like 6 to 8 people, you can get that, but also not pay the price of a private class,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that connection makes a huge difference. And that is why, drum roll. I don't know if you can make a drum roll on this.
Should we? I don't know.
Terrible, terrible how we announce it. But we are so, 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 so excited this has been I was in the works for a long time, but we are so excited to announce that we are starting Fusion University,
Bow, 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 bow.
also known as FU. That's the acronym. So we gotta have to, we gotta give credit to, I think,
Because we're serious adults. That's that.
if you can tell from our podcast in the last episodes we've had. So yeah, I gotta give credit to you, Jordan, Jeannie, and Jason, because I think you guys were one day like joking about it, the just FU, but then we're like,
Yeah.
yeah, Fusion University. And the
Mhm.
reason we're starting it is because we see there's a need for it. We've, especially in the LA community, but also we've been hearing from people, they want a space to practice and get feedback, get tips on how, from other dancers that you dance with,
Mhm.
but you don't really do that in a group class because the instructor's teaching, and you don't do that on the social dance floor. So we are so excited. We definitely are going to be leaning on the community for help on this, on getting people to share and spread the word about it. But we're definitely going to do more practicas. We're going to be offering intimate classes, like smaller group classes. And because sometimes the fundamentals of connection is really important. And then also oh God, what else are we doing? um,
I think that's really it. Our
yeah.
main thing is that we want people to feel like they have a place to grow and cultivate their skills and their abilities. And we have amazing dancers in the LA scene, and we want people to
Oh,
be able to
yeah.
like learn from each other and like
Ooh,
share
we're
because
also
there's so many
having
people who know so much, you
I
know?
forgot. We're also planning to have demos and assessment. So yes, we're gonna have all that and more. And we're also planning to have like social events. We have so many ideas and stuff, and we'd love to hear from you what you guys are looking for and whatnot. So yeah, super, super, super excited.
I'm really excited. I'm actually super, super excited, especially because I feel like LA has such a robust scene and I mean, like, there's so many people who have so many different styles and experiences, and just like to be able to bring that together and to really make LA like this amazing. I mean, because it's like all the ingredients are already there, right? But like actually pulling them together to where we can learn. Plus, I'll be totally honest, I just want an excuse to like pick the brains of my dancers. I just want to be able to be like, hey, so how do you do this, and all that good stuff. So yeah, I'm so excited for it. And just giving people a space to actually like to say, you know what, I want to work on this and I want to grow in this area, and being able to lean on each other for that. It's a dream. It's a dream. So
Yeah, check us out for upcoming classes, privates, practicas, social events by making sure to sign up for our email newsletter. So stay tuned for more upcoming fun things. We'll talk about more about FU in our next episode. And so if you enjoy this episode, please share it with a dance friend for real, and give us a follow and 5-star rating on Apple and Spotify. We only have a few ratings, guys. Please. You can check us out on social media again at Fusion Dance Podcast, but we're also having an Instagram page called Fusion University. And we also, as usual, have our awesome resource. It's a list of all the places to go social dancing here in LA. So all this stuff's gonna be included down in the show notes. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting and listening to us and our silliness. And we will see you next time.